Hi there, and welcome to another Papetti Math YouTube video tutorial where I'm going to be teaching you, yes, you, Algebra 1. And in this exercise, we're going to finish and complete our lesson on domain of a function. And it says in this exercise that for each of the scenarios below, we're going to explain whether the most appropriate domain would be all real numbers, positive rational numbers, or whole numbers. We're going to have to choose one of those and explain why. So in part A, it says the weights of 7 different packages at the post office. So we are measuring here the weight of these packages. So how can we measure weight is what this question is asking. We're going to weigh 7 different items. And what could those weights be? Could they be all real numbers? Could they be positive rational numbers? Or could they only be whole numbers? So let's think to ourselves, is it possible to have negative weight? And the answer is no. You can't have negative weight. So we can't have all real numbers for this one. Let's go to rational numbers. What makes a number rational? Well, it's a terminating or repeating decimal, and it says positive rational numbers. So can you measure weight as a decimal? And the answer is yes, you can, because you could have something that weighs 2.5 pounds or 2.6 pounds, maybe 2.7 pounds. Finally, whole numbers is not the most appropriate domain, although weight can be measured in whole numbers. But that means you can't have a decimal number of pounds, but we know that you can. So the most appropriate domain for this one is going to be positive rational numbers, because you are able to have decimal weights. And again, but not negative. So that's what rules out the real numbers. The number of cars in part B that drive through a given intersection. So let's say you're on the street corner and you're counting the number of cars that go by. Oh, there goes one. There's another one, that's two. That's three. And there's four. Okay, what was I just counting? I was counting all real numbers. Was I counting positive rational numbers or whole numbers? And yes, you are correct if you said whole numbers. Because in this case, when you're counting the number of cars that drive by, it would be silly to say, oh, there's one car. Oh, there's another half a car. Oh, there's 0.674 cars. Nope, that doesn't make any sense. So we're going to measure cars in whole numbers because you cannot have a fraction of a car that's driving through an intersection. In part C, it says the possible values of x that makes the value of y a real number in the equation x plus 5. So what numbers can you substitute in for x, add 5 to it, and make y a real number? Well, any real number plus 5 will result in a real number. So it would be all real numbers here. Because any real number plus 5 results in a real number. Okay. In the last part of this exercise, it says, part D, the distance traveled from a person's house to where they work. So it's asking you, how can you measure distance? Do you measure distance in real numbers, in positive rational numbers, or in whole numbers? If you were thinking positive rational numbers, you are correct. Because just like with the weight question in part A, you cannot have a negative distance, and you can have a fraction of a distance. You can travel 1.6 miles or 1.3 miles or 1.25 miles. It's not that you go 1 mile and the next measure of distance is 2 miles, and there's nothing in between in existence. So positive rational numbers, because you can travel a fraction of a mile or kilometer or whatever is being measured in these units when you measure the distance traveled from a person's house to where they work. So in exercise 4, we looked at 4 different examples of where we would use the most appropriate domain. If this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up below, and you are ready for the last exercise in this lesson, which is just one multiple choice question, and we'll take a look at that in the next video. Go ahead, click the link provided. Thank you for watching.